The second thing I learned this week is that the Denver Nuggets should still be considered the favorite. Whoa, Kenny. Whoa. The Bucks traded for Damian Lillard, though game 2 of Damian Lillard with the Bucks was one of his worst games in his entire career. Like, I watched that game against the Atlanta Hawks. I have never seen Damian Lillard get thrown a double team and him not know how to adjust since the one series versus the Pelicans. It's a second regular season game. I'm not overreacting to it, but it was just different. I'll say that. After watching years and years and years of domination from Dame, to see him have this bad a performance was just different. But we saw the Milwaukee Bucks trade for Damian Lillard. We saw the Boston Celtics go get Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. We saw the Suns add Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant last deadline. But the defending champions, in my opinion, are still the team to beat. I've watched every single game of them this season. Actually, I was at the ring ceremony, and it was the most amazing atmosphere I've ever experienced as an NBA fan. I've been to Madison Square Garden when it mattered. I've been to Chicago Bulls playoff games, and none of them even come close to the first game of the season after winning the championship. The atmosphere were great. They had drums playing, which made me feel like I was in a Coliseum, March Madness vibes, and the commentators or the people over the announcing table made everybody feel involved. KCP hit a three. It was 1, 2, 3. KC Pope, Kenny Pope for 3. They should still be considered the favorite because they, right now, through the first couple games of the season, feel like they have little to no flaws. Now, first of all, they have Nikola Jokic. Let's be real. There are a couple people right now through the first week of the season that you should consider to be an MVP conversation. We got Luka Doncic being 2-0 in both of those games. He put up clutch performances and 40-point this and that, 49 points in one of them. He's been ridiculous. Nikola Jokic is 3-0, and he's not, I'm going to say coasting, but it's just the way that Nikola Jokic plays basketball that it doesn't seem like he's out there giving it his all, but we know he is. You know, we saw the little reel that the Denver Nuggets put together to tell people, stop saying that he don't love the game because he genuinely do. He just don't love the medium. He is doing it so very effortlessly. I watched him play against the OKC Thunder, and that was the most anticipated game of the night for me, or it was during the day. But I was so excited because OKC, through the first couple games, have looked dominant. I'm super excited for them. They've been my league pass team. They dominated my Chicago Bulls and then went out to the second game and came back when they were down by 8 points in 2 minutes with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They look great. So I'm like, okay, this is the real test for the OKC Thunder. They played against the Bulls, trash. They played against the Cavaliers when they were missing some people. So let me see them play against the real competition, the best team in the association. It wasn't close. It was not close. And that's not really saying that the Thunder aren't ready, because the Thunder are a good team, in my opinion, but that just shows you how good and how deep this Denver Nuggets team is. And that's saying something because I didn't necessarily think they were going to be a deep team given the people that they lost. Early in this first quarter, Nikola Jokic went at Chet Holmgren's chest time after time after time again because he probably saw a 7'1", skinny frame guy and was like, this is free cheese. And it was for him. I think he ended up with 29, 30 points, double-double. He did his thing. But it's not just about Nikola Jokic. Like, obviously, yes, having the best player in the world or one of the 2 best players in the world matters a ton. But the team that Calvin Booth built around them is just amazing. First, I want to talk about the defense of Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because first of all, this is a defense that is higher than just those 2 dudes, but those are the dudes that when I watch stand out on the defensive efforts. Aaron Gordon, so far through the first 3 games, looks like an all-defensive player. He is everywhere. He is a Swiss Army knife where you need him to guard LeBron. I guard LeBron. We need him to guard D'Angelo Russell. I can do that. We need him to switch on to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I can hold my own. And as a help defender, we watched him a ton over the past 2 days make plays. All of them doesn't end in a steal or a block, but he's impacting the defense higher than he has over the last couple of years. And that's saying something because he's been a good defender. And now he's looking like a great defender through the first couple games. Kenny Pope. Kenny Hustle has got the patch in the back. And get well soon, Kenny Hustle. We need to see you on the court because you got a DNP injury today as well. Kenny Pope is flying all over the place. Talk about loose balls. Talking about somebody just having a loose handle. Don't do that in front of KCP. And God forbid he's trailing on the break because he is pulling up for 3. Those dudes collectively make me feel like this defense is going to be really good. And then now we see, of course, Jamal Murray's always been a guy to buy in. Nikola Jokic over the last couple seasons have become a guy that was widely considered to be a bad defender, to be an average defender, to be an above average defender just because his hands are just so elite. The defense is there. And the thing that I think is kind of underrated when you think about the Denver Nuggets is how much playmaking they really have. They have the playmaker, the guy, Nikola Jokic. But Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, off the bench, Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson has looked amazing through 3 games. And Peyton Watson is not really known for his playmaking, but he makes plays without having the ball. There was a quote in a Ringer article that Kevin O'Connor wrote before the season started where he got a candid interview with Calvin Booth, the guy that's in charge over there with building the team. And he got a little backlash for it because he made some quotes and he didn't know that he was on the record, so on and so forth. Let me read you one of these quotes about Peyton Watson, who's becoming one of my favorite players in basketball. I was high on him going into it, but not this high. I read this quote when it happened. I was like, I got to see it. Some of these teams were trying to get Bruce. He was referring to Bruce Brown, trying to make it worth it. It's like, just be careful for what you wish for. Peyton's bigger. He's longer. He's more athletic. He guards better. He passes better. He doesn't have the experience, and he's not as good offensively yet. But we need defense more than we need offense on our team. In the moment when that dropped, I'm like, dang. Because Brucey Brown was just so very important to that championship run. You telling me that this dude that barely got PT during the playoffs is going to fill that role? I'm kind of skeptical. And it's been 3 games. Again, we're overreacting to a degree. He's looked really, really good. He doesn't have the volume of 3-point shots yet for me to know if he'll be able to do some of the things when it matters the most. I think right now he's shooting like 40% from 3 on like 1.7 attempts, so his volume is not very high. But he is the perfect kind of player to put alongside Nikola Jokic. Very similar to what I said last year with Bruce Brown, because they have this knack for being in the right place at the right time. And Peyton Watson, being as athletic as he is, when he cuts, if Jokic finds him, it's GG's. It's a dunk. It's a layup. I saw him do a dish off pass yesterday against or a couple days ago against the Grizz. I'm like, oh, snap. And of course, we talk about defense on this team. He's one of the best shot blocking guards in the league right now. Full stop. There's a play earlier in today's game where they're going against OKC, and he's a help defender against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he climbs a ladder so very high to meet the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander floater at the apex. The defense was so good on Shai that Shai had his worst game of maybe 2 seasons. Like, that's how it was. Now, again, Shai was missing a lot of shots, and he's a guy that can get to the rim at will, but it was a struggle. And he didn't have any minutes where he wasn't being guarded by somebody that I deem to be a really good defensive player. This team is good. And I don't know if there's wiggle room to make it better at the deadline. But as is, right now, they are still the favorite to me. I didn't even mention Michael Porter Jr. is back to shooting after the first game against the Lakers where he struggled for shooting a little bit. He's back to shooting very well. And did I mention Reggie Jackson? I think I did. When he resigned, he's one of the first re-signings of the offseason. And I was a bit confused when him and Dre re-signed. I'm a bit confused because Reggie didn't play a ton during the playoff run, and Dre got minutes in the finals, but it was a small amount of minutes, and they signed back really quick. I was like, oh, that's very interesting, especially when we consider that Bruce Brown had already signed with the Pacers, or that Jeff Green was on his way to Houston. I'm like, oh, okay, we're bringing back 2 players that didn't even play really in the playoff run, and Dre doesn't play. Let's be real. He's there for cohesion. He's there to be a locker room guy, and that's one thing we got to give Dre credit for. But that man Reggie Jackson looks very, very good. Just a couple years ago, Reggie Jackson was a starting point guard on a good team. You know, he ended up getting bought out or whatever, and he's struggled to look like the player that he was, let's say, 3 seasons ago. I'm not saying he's that, but he looks really good as a backup point guard, even though I still really, really hate the fact that this man wears mismatched shoes. It's just too many players in the league that's doing it right now. I think 3 is the number. I think it's only 3 players. It is him, who's one of the originators, Javon Carter. No, Javon Carter's been doing this since high school. Javon Carter, and now J-Dub from the OKC Thunder. Can you imagine my discomfort when they were playing against each other today? And I saw Reggie Jackson on the court with J-Dub. Come on, man. What is happening?